I'd like to call to order the August 8th, 2017 Lake Mills Public Works Board meeting. Misty, could you take the roll call, please?
Ms. Schmidt? Here. Mr. Temperley?
Here.
Mr. Pickard?
Here.
Mr. Lair? And Ms. Wolf and Mr. Wright previously informed me that they'd be unavailable this evening.
Okay. Next agenda item, the correction and approval of the minutes of July 11th, 2017. Or entertain a motion to approve or make any changes.
Motion to approve.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
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 Aye. The motion carries. Questions and public comment? Nobody's here. Item 5, discussion on South Main Street local access signage. I was asked by a couple people what was going on, so I asked this to be placed on the agenda. So I think the easiest thing to talk about would be the interstate. So if you can show the interstate map up there, if it's possible. All right, the projector. I'm sorry.
Oh, the interstate map. I don't know how to map anyways.
You don't have it?
Oh, yeah, I do. I just didn't have it up yet.
I mean, that seems straightforward enough.
Yeah, it had plenty of information. It's obviously detouring to 26, but it makes clear note that multiple times that there's local access to downtown.
Correct, that was the concern. So, but they have it covered.
Yeah, so I felt pretty comfortable with the let's see if I wipe it out. With the amount of information that was provided, there's a lot of detail there.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know that if you pay attention to it, but the downtown local access signs are the biggest ones out there.
Right.
So, yeah, I felt pretty comfortable about the amount of information that was there. And,
Okay.
yeah, it's well marked and gives them a good idea of what they could do and how to get there.
Right. Anybody have any concerns? Pretty straightforward. We're still open, but if you want to go to Fort, go to 26. Okay, let's talk about the internal signs.
Obviously, you know, when you the way this breaks out, and I assume you read the memo, is that if you're not local traffic and you're using the local access routes, you can be written a ticket. So the main thing that we're looking at is if you get a lot of semis, and most people are going to start using, they're going to find their way through the city, and they're going to try and run through the local access routes. Problem is if you get a lot of semi trucks running that could be a real problem.
Yeah, Ferry Street cannot handle semis. It's pretty much.
It would probably do a better job than Grove and Pinnacle.
They're going to get stuck because there's still parking allowed on both sides, and sometimes it's a one car with access.
Right, from Lake Street north to College, it's a pretty narrow street.
Yes.
Which is, I listed as a hazard, one of the hazards, and then south from Bartles Beach, actually from Lake Street to Bartles Beach is pretty difficult. And if you got anything going on at the beach and you got to make that curve in a semi truck, it should be pretty entertaining.
Yes.
So the issue that and why they were so specific on the wording is that the detour route is 94 to 26 to 18.
Mm-hmm.
And then the local access route is because the local access route is for traffic that is basically doing business in the work area or you live there, or you have business there, or something along that line. Now, if you're just using it to run from Waterloo to Whitewater, you're considered through traffic, and you could be ticketed. Particularly, locals, we want them to use the access routes, and people who are coming down to do business to use the access routes. In the construction zone, which is the hatched area, you actually should have access almost all the time. But that is a construction zone. There's going to be a lot of construction going on. You will be ticketed unless you live on that street or you have some specific business in that area.
There was one question on Facebook. Isn't there supposed to be a construction zone to the south of Columbus Street?
Yes.
So she lives on Columbus Street. So does she need to kind of snake north to get to Fort, or will she be able to?
Yes, you will have to snake north to get to Fort for a while.
Mhm.
For about, 2 weeks.
2 weeks.
Yeah, it'll be on and off depending.
Be on and off,
Because
okay.
you're gonna have your sewer and then your water construction, and then you're gonna have half a pavement and half a pavement, and so.
But other than the 2 weeks, she can turn right and go south on 89 to work?
Because half the construction is designed to head south for half the time period, and then the other half is designed to head north.
Okay,
So, yeah, if you're living on Columbus Street, there will be a time period during that section where you'll have to go north and snake your way out.
mhm.
For the semis that are going to be coming into town, are we going to be waiving the heavy traffic route ticketing so that if they use one of the detours, they're okay?
You mean the local access routes?
Yeah,
If they have business in downtown, they are allowed to go through those routes.
okay.
So let's say, you're headed to a business in downtown or Century, and you're coming from the south, you could probably use the local access routes to get to Century.
But if you just headed up north to get to the interstate, you have to use one of the detours.
Right.
Okay.
You will be ticketed for just driving through town.
What are the signs gonna say south of Lake Mills? If people coming out from Fort,
They're gonna get the same thing. When they hit 18, they're gonna get a detour sign.
okay,
And it's gonna tell them that 89 is detoured onto. And so if you decide to come north,
you have to be,
my suggestion is you take County Highway Q. Because if you get to Lake Mills,
yeah,
and you try and get through some of those intersections with a semi-truck, I anticipate you will be stuck there until you get towed. And then, obviously,
Yeah.
you'll get a ticket.
mhm,
So the best option is, if you're coming in from the south, I would recommend you bring Q up. That's a local access route. I
Oh,
would
yeah.
come in that route and come down to downtown. If you're coming County Highway A, you're gonna wanna turn north on S and come in on B, because you're not gonna be able to snake through, the local access routes with a semi-truck.
mhm.
They're just, like you mentioned on Ferry Street, that northern half is so narrow, and with the curves and the intersections there, you're not gonna get from Ferry onto College or vice versa. And then this continues to move south, of course, so as we're in the north half and you start detouring at Madison Street, you also will start detouring at East Lake Park Place. And vice versa, you get back onto the State Highway 89 at East Lake Park Place if you're headed south, and Madison Street if you're headed north. So it's not like the whole Main Street is detoured. And then the downtown portion of Main Street will be done pretty much in the first 2 to 3 months.
Okay,
And then that'll be opened up. And then the detour will move down to Lake Street for headed south. So you can come down through downtown to Lake Street and then turn and head out to Ferry. On the northern route, which heads over to Grove Street and then on Madison Street, I'm assuming they're gonna turn on Madison Street to head north anyways. It doesn't make any sense to come down to the four-way stop at Lake. Once you get through that section, East Lake Park Place is supposed to be held open the whole construction. And there'll be short periods of time where it's gonna be closed. Obviously, you gotta get your sewer and your water and your
right.
pavement across it, but generally their goal is to get that done as quick as possible and keep that intersection open for the vast majority of the construction. So as these phases here, phase 1 and 2 are completed and you move south of East Lake Park Place, then Main Street opens all the way down to East Lake Park Place. And so the detours that you're looking at here are no longer relevant. Then you go to this set of detours down here, which is you detour at Woodland Beach Road. Well, on the north end, you headed south on Main Street, you turn on to West Lake Park Place and go over to Ferry and then down to Woodland Beach Road, and then you get back on at South Main Street. And if you're headed north, you detour on the Pinnacle, head north to East Lake Park Place, and then bring East Lake Park Place back across to Main Street. Now this must be a portion where they have crossed into both sections and you have to go all the way to Lake Street. Yeah. But it's
Yeah, the page.
eventually this is what you'll see. That won't last very long. Probably during some of the pavement and sanitary sewer construction. But this is to be the primary and ending position at the end of 2018 is Pinnacle to East Lake Park Place and back to Main and vice versa. West Lake Park Place out to Ferry to Woodland Beach. Well, actually, in this portion here, they show it all going on Pinnacle and not on, I thought they told us it was going to go the other way. Anyways, then this section from Pinnacle down to the end is done in the next year. And they have it where they keep Sandy Beach Road open from the south and they construct this part. And then when they stop this part and they bring this road in and they cross our lot there where JJ's used to be.
Right,
And that's how you access Sandy Beach Road. And then they finish out the rest of the way.
okay.
So when they're working on that very southern section, and there's traffic going from Lake Mills south or vice versa, can cars go through there? Or is that, or would that be
Yeah,
considered not
If
local
you
traffic?
live there, you can go through there. So if you lived on Columbus Street,
Right.
you could come through that zone, or if you lived on that portion of the street, you
But-
could go through there, or vice versa, if you work there, you could drive into work.
But if you live on the north side of the city, for example, for that relatively short period of time when they're working there.
And
it's-
you were headed to work in Fort Atkinson,
Yeah.
yeah, you'd get a ticket.
Yeah.
But everyone's smart enough to know county queue, so they should.
Yeah.
What'll happen is we're gonna be mainly watching early for semis.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Once the word gets out, they're probably gonna thin out. Then what's gonna happen is if traffic becomes thick enough in the construction zone that it delays traffic, the dot engineer will inform us, and then we will send the police back out.
All right.
How are we communicating to the locals that are on like the main construction path? I was hoping for
Well-
a quicker answer.
I was trying to think about how to do this.
I thought the DOT had meetings, or is that only about the trees?
I mean, the signs say road closed, local traffic only, so it's
Yeah.
pretty, it's,
Yeah, I'm with you, but I was always trying to be
We're
courteous to
flipping,
businesses
and we have a pretty extensive program put together. We're,
Okay.
we're actually hiring a person who does nothing but walk up and down the street. And, but they will be a city employee, not a walker. And their job is to do nothing but communicate with the project manager and the contractor and the city staff and Main Street and the chamber and all the citizens up and down the street to make sure that they know what's going on and what the changes are. Obviously, you know, having been involved in these types of construction projects, every morning something new happens. And the second you sink your backhoe into the ground, something new happens again. And so it changes pretty fast. So what was on Facebook last night is probably no longer relative at 10 o'clock in the morning. And so
Right.
we are having a very close combination of work between the DOT project manager and a city staffer who will then communicate directly with the chamber and Main Street, as well as residents on the street, the affected residents at that point in time. They'll be,
That works. You have a dedicated person to handle that, so that was, I feel a lot more comfortable. It took so long to answer, it was so easy.
there are a lot of other small technical issues that fall into that make it,
Yeah,
how detailed we want to get. There's, like on these routes,
but for all intents and purposes, there's still one guy, there's still one point of contact for external parties to come in for the overall project management to be communicating back out. So you have a funnel that happens right there, so as long as that funnel is known and there's a way to get them out there, and it sounds like there's a plan for it, then I'm comfortable.
yes, I understand DOT and the contractor have a meeting every morning. And this person will attend that meeting, and then they'll be able to start funneling information out of that. Now, the project manager, well, I shouldn't say it's the project manager, the on-site observer may not be the project manager. The on-site observer and the contractor are generally working pretty close hand in hand all day long, adjusting to all the issues that come up. And as part of that, this person is going to be, you know, kind of in their pocket, noting and changes, and then they'll be running up and down the street, trying to make sure that the affected people know what's happening. They'll be able to communicate quickly with, to the chamber and the Main Street who will set up a specific Main Street Facebook page. And so if you're interested in that type of information, you know, that should be hitting the Facebook page right away. So, you know, everybody has an opportunity to check out regularly throughout the day to see what's happening on the street. So we're hoping we get it taken care of as effectively as possible. There are some coordination issues which the contractor has to take care of. If you only have a front access, and the street in front of you and the sidewalk in front of you is going to be closed, they have to try and work with you to schedule a time, and then they have to schedule with you how the ramp is set up and those types of things. So they won't be doing that specifically. That will be the contractor, and generally they know what they have to do, and that's part of the contract. Ours is more of the changing minute by minute things that the contractor isn't running out and the DOT observer isn't running out trying to communicate with everybody. This is really and then this person walks up and down the street generally on the day, talks to everybody, tries to find out what their concerns are, brings them back to the people who are actually on site, and lets them know that there are some concerns and see if they can figure out how to handle them, or if they know what they're going to do, and they can communicate it to that person so they can get back and let the person know what's happening. It's a pretty high level communication project. So from that standpoint, I feel pretty comfortable about where we'll be at. There's some issues related to the signage. We're paying for the signs that say local access route, and DOT will put them up. There are other signs that can be put up in different forms and fashions that say like, you know, this way to CV here, or this way to El Mariachis, or something like that. And I guess there are a number of opportunities that will allow for people to handle those types of signage issues. We prefer them to have a 6x36 sign or a group sign that says this way to the main business district, or this way to the main parking lots, but if they want to have a specific sign because they're a little bit out of the way, they can probably put up a yard sign. We'll permit those, but they have to be out of the vision triangles and inappropriate spots and those types of things. What else? We're going to try and work as closely to make it as beneficial as possible. With the split route, I mean, it wouldn't matter if you had a single route or a split route, but let's say you're headed south and you want to get over to Century, and the detour tells you to take a right. Obviously, if you can look down and see that, you can drive straight down to Century on Madison Street. You should be able to do that. Basically, what we're trying to do is detour traffic that would have headed south on Main Street. So, you know, people getting to realize those types of things, being able to communicate those types of things. Because it says detour here doesn't mean you can't turn left onto Madison Street. It means you can't go straight south on Main. And so those are kind of the small things. We've addressed the parking lots. And as I understand, Main Street and the Chamber are working to get those onto IMAP and Google Maps. And then if the businesses downtown say you have access to our business through parking lot at this address, you should be able to punch it into one of those. I'll take you right there. So we've gone through quite a process. They're sending out a survey. They'll ask a bunch of questions on, you know, how do you think your signage should be done? How, you know, what do you look at for your access? What are your main concerns? Those types of things. And so we're trying to gear up to that. We'll hopefully have our person in place by January 1st. And they'll start reviewing some of the documents that are being worked on. I think, you know, they're looking at maps that each business owner can have. That's kind of a pad, like a tear-off pad. And then you can just they'll have it there, so you can just tear off a map and it'll tell you how to get through Lake Mills during the construction. So they're working on, they have a committee, an ER committee that's been pretty active.
Any other comments? This is discussion only, so if you feel strongly about a change, then you have to request discuss the decision. But it's gonna be a mess, but I think the city's on top of directions and signs, so. Should we move on to the next agenda item? All right. Item 6, discussion update on East Lake Park Place. Yes. We have a 24-page document. If you could summarize that for us.
I was right. Does that summarize it for you?
So it's in our favor.
Yes.
Okay.
It basically says that the base material was not to spec. And I should say the 3-inch rock base was not to spec. Most of the rest of the street was constructed to spec, but obviously when the supporting base isn't right, there's a lot of problems. We sent notice that we expect the street to be fixed. They have been in contact with us. We have a meeting coming up, And hopefully we'll know more shortly.
Okay. That's a good enough summary for me. Is anybody else
One thing I might add is they've been telling us they'll be done before the fall,
before the fall?
before the end of the fall.
I know the fall, which is December 21st.
Right.
Okay.
So have they told you that they're going to do what we want them to do?
No. They have given us a response that sounds like they are, but the wording isn't what I would call technical enough to say absolutely. And I don't want to get too far into it because there are,
Yeah. Wait till the meeting.
ramifications to over discussing a topic like this.
Obviously, they're not happy about it, but
Yeah, there's always someone who's on the hook for a lot of money in these types of situations, and they're not happy.
any other questions? All right, we'll move on to item number 7, discussion recommendation on acceptance of sanitary sewer improvements, Sherwood Hills Northwest. I assume that's a development project going on, and the developers have put in sanitary sewer.
You want to do the motion first, or you want me to just go ahead?
Just go ahead, just go over what this agreement, or the agreement's all about, the acceptance.
I guess it was in 16. Actually, I think the memo explains it pretty well. Somewhere in 2001, this was originally platted by Gray Horse Development,
Okay,
and they did phases 1 and 2. Phase 3 was left out there. And obviously, it's been sitting pretty much fallow. It wasn't even farmed, as far as I could tell. Until last year, the new company, Casson LLC, I think that's right, purchased it with the intent of finishing the development. Obviously, the city provides sanitary sewer in that portion of the town.
mm-hmm,
And so they brought the project back to the Public Works Board. You approved their plans as presented, which is pretty much the same as it had originally been presented.
mm-hmm.
They finally got all their town approvals, have gotten the construction done. On-site observation was done by Strand, and they indicate that it was built to standard and that all the supporting documents have been submitted. And they recommend that, the Public Works Board recommend that the council accept the public improvements. And then it will go through the bond reduction to the warranty period. And that's pretty much the end of that.
Any other questions or comments? It's pretty straightforward.
Normally, there's more detail to back it up, more than he said that it's okay. I mean that in a nice way. I just haven't been around long enough to see all the portions come through, so. I'm trying to give you a hard time nicely. That's all.
Well-
I'm still gonna take your word for it either way. Normally there's extra, like, fluff to make me feel better.
I can elaborate if you like, but,
I'm still gonna take your word for it.
oh, okay.
Yeah, that's what I had to do too, because I sent him a memo that said the engineer will provide the documentation, but he sent me a letter saying that it was good.
Yeah, I mean, the letter kind of summarizes the
Yep.
status and some of the supporting documents that the city has. I mean, if you'd like, you could include lien waivers and,
Well, normally we
record
have,
drawings, what?
we have included the lien waivers.
Oh,
The, this just conditionally approves it anyways. It does say that until they're provided and they're in our hands, it's not approved. And it still has to go before the city council. Now, he does say that we have it all, and technically, we need to have it in our file, but once that happens, it's good. There weren't a lot of lien waivers for a sanitary sewer project
Yeah,
anyways.
so the lien waivers we're discussing are just for just the sanitary sewer portion of it. You know,
Yeah,
anything
so it's like-
road and grading and seeding, those kind of things are kind of outside of this acceptance recommendation. You know, this is just sanitary sewer infrastructure.
It's not like your typical subdivision where you have all the asphalt and the water and the sidewalks and all the lot pins and every other thing that goes with it. So you'd have, 30 lien waivers. This is like 2. You have the pipe and the manholes.
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay, we have a prepared Public Works Board motion, 17-8-1, acceptance of public improvements, Sherwood Hills Northwest subdivision. Or entertain a motion to approve it.
Motion to approve motion 17-8-1.
Second?
Misty, can you take the roll call, please?
Mr. Temperley,
Aye.
Mr. Pickard,
Aye.
Mr. Lair,
Hey, aye, sorry, aye.
Ms. Schmidt,
Aye.
motion passed 4-0.
Item 8, recommendations for future agendas. I have none.
I need to learn how to say aye.
Any vowel will work.
All right. Nothing from staff? Anything you think might be next month?
Next month with the CIP.
That's done. What you're talking about is the actual budgets, which is the water, electric, sewer, all the capital, all the public works capital budgets, and the streets budget, which that's September? Next meeting is in September? Yeah, you'll have it.
Yep, that's close to budget time.
Yeah, because the first meeting in September is when the budget rolls out.
Right. Okay. All right, if that's it, then I'll bang this gavel and adjourn the meeting.